Another area I wanted to explore was in a number of commentaries on your life and work, there's reference to the fact that a number of your close friends and associates were associated with the Labour Party. You mentioned Douglas J. Was Gaitskell somebody who you knew well?
He was my contemporary.
And this involvement of yours in tax loophole seminars for J. Could you?
I didn't know about that.
That's I think referred to again by McCormick.
Yes.
Could you pass some light on?
I've always until I think I voted Liberal when I was a school. Not voted, would have voted Liberal when I was a schoolboy. But I've always been on the left, non-communist left.
And so always been sympathetic to.
Yes.
And how did you get involved in these tax loophole seminars? Is that just a simple invitation from a good friend?
Douglas J. asked me, I think, would I come along and talk? I thought it was a scandal. I used to have to do all that work myself. Enormously rich people paying no tax.
So what you were doing in the seminars was explaining.
Yes, and what the devices were, what was needed to stop it. I did quite a lot of work, actually.
And did you actually provide them with some ideas as to how?
Yeah, they could stop it. Well, it's a technical question, of course. Yes. I think it was Lord Rothschild's son who said to me, "Do you know, some people play chess. I don't. I spend my time just deciding, seeing what arrangements I need to make for my large fortune to avoid paying tax. I pay no tax at all." I thought that's disgusting. I said so.
What did you think of the 1950s, the Cold War period? Was it as bad as relative to the thawing out in the 60s that occurred?
Well, a lot of dotted people are going on about communism, of course. My wife was a communist one period when she was here, and she got interrogated by this man Wright about it, in his book, actually. And then she gave a talk ill-advisedly, I thought, still, on the radio, on the television, to explain what it was like to be a communist in the mid-30s. Started off with the Spanish War and Czech and all that. And she was very frank indeed. She was in the Home Office, and she described how they said, "You lie low," and we will contact you. She did all this. And it was a frightful rumpus because it was misdescribed by the Sunday Times. And it was awful.
Yes.
Sorry, that's not relevant.
Well, it is in the sense that I was mentioning the 1950s and the Cold War period, and whether it was as bad in terms of being so obsessed with socialist Marxists and therefore possibly discouraging critical thought of whatever kind.
Yes, I think it was bad. Yes.
I mean, it is interesting that it is in the 60s that you start writing in a much more sort of policy orientated way about law and morality and so on. And I just wondered to what extent there was a relationship between the thawing that occurs in the 60s and your engagement with those issues then. In terms of Oxford legal education, you emphasised when we first began talking that you weren't a lawyer, that you hadn't taken a law degree, that you were a philosopher, and that's the way you see yourself. And you've not taught any legal courses other than aspects of legal philosophy. Is that right?
Well, I don't know what to call it. Rupert Cross and I, for many years, gave a tremendously well-attended seminar on the psychological conditions of criminal responsibility, which was really a continuation of the kind of work I did with Austin on excuses. I've examined in the law school here, but I've not taught anything except that.
What is your view of this idea? This seems strange to somebody from outside of Oxford, of lectures not being obligatory, the lecturers can lecture on what they like, and the difficulty perhaps of getting a balanced lecture list. Is that something that seems odd to you all natural?
No, I think if it could be sustained, it's valuable. As long as the tutorials are run properly and rigidly, and people attend twice a week with the tutor and read 2 essays a week, and you have people doing that job properly. Given that, I'm in favour of this free for all. It has produced some very valuable work, I think, in all subjects.
Do you think the supervisory system, the system of supervisions, that's peculiar, tutorials that's peculiar to Oxbridge, is a good one?
Well, it has its dangers. If you get locked in with a bad tutor, it can be hell. But on the whole, I think it's extremely good. If it's kept to, and if people do the traditional thing, really closely attend to the essays read to them, or which they read, and criticise them, certainly. I think it's very good.
In terms of the relation...
And the amount of writing that 3 years of this does, I think, produce a very good level of ability to write.
In terms of the relationship between law and other disciplines, do you think that law has been relatively isolated in Oxford, or has it?
Not since, I don't say it's due to me, not since my work's got going. This has really brought law and philosophy very much closer together. It's quite natural for philosophers to think about legal subjects, and now you can do philosophy as part of the law degree, moral philosophy. No, I think it's excellent.
And what about other areas, history, for example, or?
There's no joint school. And I think the demands of teaching people from professional school who haven't done the first degree, the essentials of law, is too heavy to weigh it down with anything more than 1 or 2 papers.
What about the examination system? I mean, do you think that's conducive to producing well-educated, liberally educated? There is this criticism of the examination load being excessively heavy here at Oxbridge, and
you mean heavy?
There are too many examinations and too much. The class is too geared up for.
There's only 2. One at the end of the first year, and one at the end of the third. No, it's a pity that we only have 3 years. There ought to be 4 years. Yes. No, I don't think so.
Do you think law should be a postgraduate subject as it is in the United States?
Yes, but we can't afford it as long as you don't. It's becoming rather different now, when you get paid if you're in art schools instead of paying. You're now beginning to get paid. Then you could hold people back for 2 degrees, as in America, and that's the idea.
How would you say your students and indeed teachers have changed since you began your career as an academic?
Well, the teachers are much less reverential of the judges. When a judge comes down here, they don't fall flat on their faces and regard themselves rightly as equal and very often superior in ability to some judges, and there isn't the same differential attitude, nor should it be. So that's a good thing. How do pupils change? Well, in my day as an undergraduate, of course, when Oxford was the playground of the capitalist classes, you needn't do any work. And only the scholars came from grammar schools like me, or the bands of scholars from Winchester, Eton, and so on. Really, they worked very hard. But on the whole, the level of work is enormously higher, and the whole thing has improved as compared with the pre-war, pre-grant system. I don't know what will happen now. Perhaps this actually was trying to reverse it. No, there's an enormous lift of standards.
So you think the students are better than ever, would you say, or?
Yeah, yes, better. Maybe that there are fewer of the absolute stars occasionally got. I don't know.
I'd like to come back to the relationship between the legal profession and academia. How have you experienced the legal profession? I mean, first of all, you were a practitioner, then came into academia. Have you found the legal profession condescending or supportive, enthusiastic,
I'm
or...
a venture of the Middle Temple. I don't practically go there. I'm sure I wouldn't say that. Anyhow, no, they're deferential and polite to me. All right. I don't know what they think behind my back. I can talk to them about their own practices and things. What quite was your question?
Well, it's really a concern with the relationship between legal education and the profession. To what extent, in particular, is the profession antagonistic, or has it become more sympathetic to academics? Certainly there is the argument that it has been very condescending towards legal academics in the past. I mean, is that your experience, or...?
No. Mm-hmm. I think it's got better mutual understanding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How would you sum up your contribution to legal philosophy?
I don't know what to say. I think it's I hope to enable people to both to take a wider view of what the nature of law and the problems that arise in running a legal system, and it's given them a kind of sensitivity to accuracy of clarity of expression in detail. I don't know, maybe illusion.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And do you still take the view that that's the best way to train lawyers? It's the primacy of the kind of skills, the sharpness, the clarity.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Of course, increasingly, an increasingly large proportion of law students are no longer going directly into the legal profession.
No, or at all.
Or at all, indeed.
Well, it's good they should carry the skills of a lawyer and transfer them to other things, which you can.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And a philosopher, for that matter. Yes.
You think those skills, rather than the skills that one would get from anthropology or history or sociology or...
Yes,
that's to say,
I think it's better for Englishmen.
Why is that? A concern with underlying values, say, questions of ideology and so on. You think those who wouldn't?
I think you come to those once you have sufficient clarified mind and probe deeply enough into this kind of legal theory. These questions will then come up, and I think you're better equipped to deal with them because of the English background.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Again, the Bodenheim article says something about it.
Yes. Were there any things that you wanted to say, or any points that you wanted to make concerning your intellectual influences, intellectual development, or the development of legal philosophy at Oxford?
No, I think it's been good. I think that it may be that the more philosophical trend under Professor Dworkin is maybe a bit above the heads except for the most talented lawyers, and that's a pity. And I would always try to reduce the quantum of pure philosophy which lawyers are invited to take unless they wish to. If they wish to take optional papers in philosophy, okay. I try to bring philosophical issues less into the teaching of jurisprudence, not more, because of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much indeed for giving of your time.
Not at all.